To continue off our CO2 safety segment, we will be talking today with CANarchy. CANarchy was founded in 2015 and is a disruptive collective of innovators who are committed to producing superior quality and great tasting beverages that satisfy any occasion. Their portfolio of craft breweries includes Oskar Blues Brewery, Cigar City Brewing, Squatters Craft Beers, Ellum Brewing Company, and Perrin Brewing Company, to name a few. CANarchy provides craft beverages throughout the United States and in 21 countries and U.S. territories. They are also a huge partner of CO2Meter and stand by our CO2 safety devices for their employees, customers, and establishment. Here with me today is Rachel Bell, safety professional at CANarchy, who has also been an incredible resource for CO2Meter with her industry expertise and education on all things brewing and CO2 safety. And I'm excited to be here today with Rachel and gain some true safety and brewing industry feedback. Morgan Morris, VP of Marketing at CO2Meter, and I am honored here to have Ms. Rachel Bell with CANarchy here to talk about one of the important topics in both of our industries, which is gas detection safety, more specifically CO2 safety. And I wanted to ask right off the bat if you could just give our audience and viewers a little bit of insight to the company and your role at CANarchy.
Absolutely. So we are a collective of craft breweries, including Oskar Blues, Cigar City, Squatters Wasatch, Perrin, and Ellum. We still have our individual identity, but we also all work together to share resources and knowledge, and it's great. It's like having a big extended family. I'm the employee health and safety manager for the collective. So I get to travel around and check in on everybody and try to work to standardize education and best practices and things like that.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that insight. I know you mentioned too definitely safety and the training aspect, and that's really what we're here to talk about today. So speaking just on your background in education and safety, could you talk a little bit about what steps you're doing specifically at CANarchy to facilitate CO2 safety in the workplace?
Yeah, that's one of the most important things is that we have a monitoring system at all facilities from CO2Meter. We have a few different models that we just decided some were better for different facilities versus others. So it is kind of diverse. It's a great way to become aware if you're having either long-term elevated levels or like a temporary spike. We also try to do some other proactive stuff, not just for safety, but also sustainability to make sure we're not, we don't have something that's leaking that's just bleeding CO2 out into the world. So we do a lot of, we've recently gotten really into ultrasonic leak detection. So listening for micro leaks along equipment. It's a good preventative measure, but also just preventative maintenance in general, like making sure you're making the time to do that and make sure that your equipment is still functioning properly. But beyond that, I mean, in the beer industry, there are so many, we use CO2 so often in our process. We get bulk CO2 that we use in the product itself and to help move it around and do different things. But we also make our own CO2 basically during fermentation. It's a byproduct of fermentation to make alcohol. So different situations, we know in advance that we have a higher risk to have a high level of CO2. So we also try to train people and have mitigation strategies to make sure we're not getting a really high buildup.
No, that's so great to hear. It sounds like you guys are doing so many different things just pertaining to safety in the workplace, which is great. And like you said, breweries specifically, you're using these gases in a lot of different ways, especially during fermentation. So it's so critical to have these safeguards in place because potential incidents can occur, whether people believe it or not. So it's incredible what you guys are doing, and we're honored to be a partner with CANarchy. And I know you mentioned multiple facilities, those facilities. Do you find yourself focusing on safety differently across those facilities?
Not necessarily. I mean, every facility has a vastly different layout and design, but the areas where we would be focusing on monitoring CO2 are pretty much the same throughout. There's some areas that are more high risk than others.
Okay.
One that I think a lot of people, it's common to focus on the production area of the brewery, but also a really common place where you might have issues is in your tap room cooler where you have your kegs and your draft system. not a confined space, but it is an enclosed space. And so it's really
Mhm.
easy to have a high concentration of CO2 in there much faster than you would somewhere else in the facility. So we definitely also try to educate our front of house staff on that. And we have alarms in all of those coolers, and we have SOPs explaining what to do in that situation. Because a lot of those people, if they aren't coming from the manufacturing production background, and they might not
Right.
have the same background training, but we still try to make sure they understand that it's a hazard and what they can do if there is an issue.
No, that's incredible. I think you hit the nail right there because that was going to be my next question. With individuals, new and even existing, and you have these CO2 monitors, are they able to understand what to do should a CO2 incident occur? And you did mention you all have SOPs, and it sounds like some great training, which very beneficial. When it does come to the gas detection, I am interested to know, do you use specific monitoring devices over others? Do you have both fixed and portable? What is really important specifically for your facilities?
That is a great question. We are mostly just using the fixed ones, honestly. We've got a whole network and we have them strategically placed. And I know for honestly, for most of them, like there's significant overlap. So even if one was to go out, you know, for whatever reason, like maintenance, or if we have to move something around, like we know that the whole facility is still being monitored. But that being said, we do believe every facility has some type of personal device that they can use if they want to. Think it's a good way to potentially double check if you think maybe one of those stationary sensors isn't working properly. You can see what your personal one's reading, or I mean, we do for confined space entry. We don't have something that monitors CO2 directly, but we have something that monitors the level of oxygen.
Oh,
Um,
perfect.
yeah, but with confined spaces and breweries, the primary concern is CO2, honestly. That's the most likely cause of a hazardous atmosphere in any of our confined spaces. Um, so yeah, we do try to limit entry as much as possible anyways. But yeah, so I have a few different ones, but I really love the stationary ones and just going up to the iPad and being able to so easily check and just basically see the whole facility and know what's going on. And it's also that makes it easy if maybe you haven't hit that 5,000 ppm limit yet where the strobes would start going off and alert workers. But
Mhm.
a lot of times I'll just periodically check it throughout the day and I'll notice like, oh, like we're getting close to 4,000, and I'll go down and let them know it's like, hey, just a heads up if you want to start doing something more proactively to prevent it. And yeah, I think that really helps you be more proactive. The personal monitors are great and they'll let you know if you're in that environment, but
Right.
the stationary sensors really help you be even more proactive about it.
Absolutely, especially with larger facilities, like you said, if you're using, a few different fixed, so you're able to see that visual before you potentially enter a room that could be hazardous, which is huge. So it's great to see that you guys are using them in a few different ways, and really have those safeguards there. But I think in final, Rachel, especially with your expertise and your background for safety, would you have, if any, a piece of advice that you might be able to give someone in the brewing industry firsthand when it comes to gas safety that they can kind of take home and implement in their industry?
Honestly, I think the biggest piece of advice that I have, and it's based on stories that I hear working in this industry. Um, a lot of times, once people finally do get a monitoring device, they are shocked by the amount of CO2 that they have just casually been working in for so long. So I
Right.
would encourage everybody to to make that more of a priority, and not just to, when you see those numbers, like make sure that you're doing something about it. Don't just budget for a monitoring system, budget for mitigation strategies, because more likely than not you are going to be surprised by how much CO2 you've been working in. But then it makes such a difference once you realize that and address it and get rid of it and are living in a better atmosphere and environment. So yeah, plan ahead. Assume that it's going to be higher than you expect. I guess that's my advice.
Yeah, that's perfectly said. And we appreciate that. We'll definitely take that to our audience as well. I know a lot of brewers, I'm sure, and industry leaders too, are tuning in. So I appreciate your time, Rachel. In closing, if individuals did want to learn a little bit more about CANarchy, get into some of the resources, or even contact with you directly, could you direct them to a place to do that?
Think our website is still kind of under construction, work in progress, getting some upgrades. I am also co-chair of the Brewers Association Safety Subcommittee. So a great way to just ask general industry questions about safety would be on the BA's forum, or there's, I believe it's safety exchange at brewersassociation.org. It's just an email that goes to the whole subcommittee, and we pool our collective resources. And we exist on a voluntary basis to help breweries be safer. And definitely, especially, I feel like CO2 is a really hot topic right now, and we always get asked questions about it and what solutions for those mitigation strategies. And yeah, so
I love all the stuff that they're doing and their CO2 safety workshops and all the resources they have, which is awesome. So it's exciting. It's nice to see us all kind of in the same groups and communities. It's really great with this industry.
it's worth talking about for sure. So this is what I'm passionate about. I love talking about it, and I love helping other brewers stay safe.
Thank you so much, Rachel. No, we're honored again to have you take your time out today to talk to us about a topic that hits home for both of us and provides some great industry perspective, essentially from CANarchy, and really give us some takeaways, which I found very insightful. So we appreciate your time, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon.